Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Brandon Ecker Influence. Sorry, I was a little bit late. Had to fix some things. Let's get right into it. I wanted to get into the market. There's a lot of big things happening. And all I can say is, what do you think is going to happen with the Clarity Act? I think it's going to be the biggest news of the year, quite honestly. So I think it's going to be a lot of exciting things in the future. And I'm really excited. So let's take a look at the maps here. Let's see what we got over happening on Glint. Some of the biggest critical updates that came to light in the past hour, in the past 5 minutes actually, by Bloomberg. Cursor is taking on Anthropic and OpenAI with a new AI coding model. And Bloomberg also put out bonds tumbled globally after central banks warned surging oil could spark fresh inflation shock, triggering a rapid repricing as the Iran war disrupts the global economic outlook. Some more updates also came out, and we had learned that ballistic missile launches from Iran to Israel that happened within the last 40 minutes. And then also, yeah, we had a lot of big stories. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said the partial government shutdown will lead for TSA agents who are not receiving paychecks. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on when it comes to the global economy, when it comes to all of these things, right? So that's why we like to study the markets. We like to really study what's going on. So it looks like the fear and greed index went back down. So people are getting a little bit more fearful than they were yesterday. I think yesterday, what was the fear and greed index yesterday? I believe it was at, what was it? What's it say here? Yeah, I think it was like 32 yesterday. So we haven't really moved too much. And then when we look at the other cryptocurrencies, blockchain is doing good. So Bitcoin is at 69,000. Pretty much all. Again, we're waiting on the Clarity Act. That's everything, right? And we're going to be reading more about that. The Ethereum is at 2,129. XRP is at $1.45. I think XRP will end up going pretty high. I think it will end up going anywhere from about $8 maybe to like $100. I could see more, honestly. Depends on the use case, depends on the utility, but to my knowledge, it's a pretty good asset. Solana's at $88. Dogecoin's at 9 cents. Cardano's at 26 cents. Chainlink is $8.96. And Monero is down from yesterday, 3%. So the entire market looks like it's pretty much down. And again, it's just normal crypto behavior, right? That's pretty much the typical behavior we're going to see in these kind of markets, especially during a war, right? And so a lot of that has to do with some of these headlines that we've been seeing in the news, right? So stocks fall again as oil prices rise. The Dow loses 300 points. Live updates. So U.S. equities fell on Thursday while oil prices remained elevated as Wall Street watches for more developments in the Iran war. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 344 points or 0.7%. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq composite slipped 0.5% and 60% respectively. The S&P 500 traded below its 200-day moving average for the first time since May 23rd. Brent crude futures, the international benchmark, surged 3% to $111 per barrel. I think it's going to go to $200 per barrel. I predict that oil will inevitably hit $200 per barrel. I don't see us getting out of the Iran war anytime soon. We are just sending more troops in. Trump is with Israel on the entire thing. We want to be going into war with Iran, according to him. And, that's just where the markets are heading. That looks like that's what's pretty much the plan. President Donald Trump warned that if more facilities in Qatar were attacked, the U.S. would massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field. The core dilemma of the entire situation remains the same. The U.S. and Israel have won the war in a conventional sense, but there doesn't seem to be a military solution for reopening Hormuz absent the deployment of ground troops, which means the waterway isn't likely to return to normal without some type of diplomatic settlement, and it doesn't appear at the moment like much effort is being put into achieving one, said Adam Krizafali of Vital Knowledge. With traffic in the Kiev Strait of Hormuz passageway largely at a standstill, the leaders of the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands and Japan expressed in a joint statement on Thursday that their readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the strait. Meanwhile, Micron Technology shares came under pressure, losing 2%, and Citi analysts in particular are attributed the move to just some profit taking. So yeah, I mean, the entire market is looking pretty. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's not looking good. That's what I would say. Potentially best in case results from Eli Lilly's next generation obesity. Oh yeah, that's kind of irrelevant, I guess. To me, I thought that was part of the article. So again, another video that I wanted to touch on here. I think this has a lot to do with what we're seeing in the markets and what we're seeing with a lot of the price impact. Let's take a look at this video. Breaking officially, the Arab countries are threatening that they are going to join Israel and the U.S. if the war against the war against Iran. After weeks of Iranian attacks, countries in the Gulf say their patience is wearing thin. Saudi Arabia's FM warned that if strikes in the GCC neighbors continue, military action is an option. So
on the contrary, this pressure will backfire.
The Saudi foreign ministers from across the Gulf region met in Riyadh to discuss the conflict's spread. But while those talks were happening, Iran launched missiles targeting the Saudi capital. All were intercepted, but falling debris injured several people. The Saudi foreign minister accused Iran of trying to intimidate Gulf leaders and said it would not succeed.
The targeting of Riyadh, while a number of diplomats.
Yeah, and this is really going to impact markets with oil because, again, there's less people going to Dubai now. There's less people that are trustworthy of that entire region, right? The Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf of Oman, all of that is being occupied by military action. You're seeing a lot of missile strikes in the area. If you're in that area, you need to leave that area. You need to come back to the United States or go back home to where you came from. But don't go to Dubai right now. You don't want to be in the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, that is true that Trump did state he wants to put boots on ground. He wants to basically control that region. He's going to do whatever it takes to do it because he wants Iran basically to fold to Israel so that way China and Russia can benefit more, or so that China and Russia cannot benefit from Iran's oil. See, right now, China is basically the only country that has access to the Strait of Hormuz. So all of these things are affecting the oil prices. That's why you're going to see oil prices go probably above $200 a barrel. And that's my prediction, at least, as long as this war continues.
A meeting I cannot see as coincidental. And I think that's the clearest signal of how Iran feels about diplomacy. It doesn't believe in talking to its neighbors. It tries to pressure its neighbors. And what I can say categorically, that's not going to work. The kingdom is not going to succumb to pressure. And on the contrary,
so yeah, Saudi Arabia is going to be backing the United States and Israel when you would expect Saudi Arabia to back Iran, right? But nope, Saudi Arabia is backing the United States because of the relationship that we have with Qatar pretty much. And we have a lot of military bases there, and so that's kind of why you're seeing all that military action. That's why you're seeing a lot of the Saudis basically taking the side of the United States and Israel.
Backfire.
The Saudi foreign minister also said the patience of GCC countries was not unlimited and that if Tehran's attacks on its neighbors continue, they reserve the right to take military action against Iran once all diplomatic options have been exhausted.
But what I care about now is that the attacks on my country and on my neighboring countries that are not involved in this conflict end. That's all I'm interested in. And we're going to use every lever we have, political, economic, diplomatic, and elsewise.
Interesting.
To get these attacks to stop. That's what I care about.
Hours earlier, Qatar's Ras Laffan industrial complex was hit in a missile attack, which caused extensive damage. Qatar's foreign ministry condemned the attack and said Iran was dragging the region towards the abyss. The UAE also had to shut down two of its
if you're wondering why your oil prices are what they are right now, this is why.
Facilities due to falling debris from a missile interception. And several missiles and drones were also launched at gas fields in the east of Saudi Arabia, but Riyadh said those were intercepted. Since this conflict began more than 2 weeks ago,
I also think that there is a lot of information we're not getting on this entire story, everything that's actually happening.
GCC leaders have been at pains to stress they would defend their territories but not attack Iran. But the targeting of their critical energy infrastructure is putting relations between Iran and its Gulf neighbors under increasing strain. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
Not going to be good for the United States overall, though, because we're losing out our allies too. A lot of nations are not willing to work with the United States through all of this. So, as far as the Clarity Act goes, wanted to jump into that. A lot of big news happening with the Clarity Act, despite all of the oil wars that you could call it. There's also other asset classes to focus on, right? So, this is why I'm a big proponent of diversification, because during World War III and all of these things, you're going to find that you're going to have to be ready for such an instance that oil might go through the roof and you get priced out, right? Or maybe crypto is not going through the roof, and so you need to invest in something else. So you invest in oil because you know it's going to hit $200 a barrel, right? So let's talk about the Clarity Act. Has 18 working weeks left. It has not completed step one. This was again posted just 2 days ago. Wanted to go back and touch on this article one more time. FinTech Weekly mapped the Clarity Act's remaining legislative steps against the official 2026 Senate calendar. The window is tighter than the debate suggests. So yeah, a big thing that I think people aren't really ready for is that the Senate essentially has it planned that they're going to be really handling the SAVE Act. That's really what they've booked out time for on the Senate floor. And so that's why we're not going to likely see the Clarity Act. Hopefully we do, right? Hopefully they do push it forward. I think it's as much as a priority as the Save America Act, though the Save America Act is really what's supposed to protect that election integrity and all of those things at a foundational level. And so that way the financial markets can't be abused with crypto. So all of these things kind of tie in together. Let's read a little bit of this. The Senate goes into Easter recess on March 30th and returns April 13th. The midterm campaign recess begins on October 5th. Between those two dates, the official 2026 Senate calendar confirms 18 working weeks of available legislative time. The Clarity Act has not yet completed its first remaining step. The bill has the House on July 17, 2025, with a 294 to 134 vote. The Senate Agriculture Committee advanced its portion on January 29, 2026. Everything else remains undone. Before the president can sign the Clarity Act into law, 5 steps must be completed in sequence. The Senate Banking Committee must hold its markup and vote. Senator Angela also Brooks told the American Bankers Association on March 10th that a late March window was the target. That window closes in 13 days. Now it's 11 days. The central dispute whether crypto platforms can pay yield on a stablecoin holding remains unresolved after the White House's March 1st deadline expired without a published compromise. Also, Brooks and Senator Tom Tillis are working on the language. No date has been confirmed. Once the Banking Committee advances its version, the full Senate must continue a floor vote. In a midterm year, Majority Leader Thune controls the floor calendar alongside appropriations, bills, nominations, and every other contested piece of legislation seeking time. Complex bills typically wait 2 to 6 weeks between committee passage and floor scheduling. The earliest a floor vote could realistically occur is mid-April after the Easter recess ends. After the full Senate passes its version, the text must be reconciled with the Agriculture Committee version to produce a single Senate bill. Those two versions were developed by separate committees under separate chairs on separate timelines. Reconciliation requires agreement between Scott and Boozman on a combined text. For legislation of this complexity, 4 to 8 weeks in a realistic minimum. The combined Senate bill must then be reconciled with the House bill passed version from July 2025. The House and Senate versions will differ on multiple provisions. The stablecoin yield question alone has moved significantly since the House vote. A formal conference committee or an amendment exchange between the chambers add further weeks to the timeline. Only after all 4 steps are done does the bill reach the president's desk for signature. The 18 working weeks available for October 5th sounds sufficient, but it is not, for 2 reasons. The Senate floor calendar in a midterm year is oversubscribed. Independent Senate observers and Politico's congressional reporters have consistently noted that contested legislation in a midterm cycle realistically commands 10 to 12 unusable floor hours floor weeks before campaign season dominates. And the 5 steps are sequential. A delay at any one point compresses every subsequent step with no mechanism for recovery. The late March Banking Committee markup is not one development among many. It is the first domino. It does not fall before March 30th. The next available window opens April 13th. Every week lost at step 1 is a week that cannot be recovered at steps 2 through 5. The arithmetic does not change. The arithmetic does not change. The calendar does not wait. As FinTech Weekly has reported, the crypto industry committed $149,379,208 to Fair Shake in the current cycle and announced a $193 million war chest the day before the Agriculture Committee markup in January. The companies funded that operation are waiting for a banking committee date that has already been postponed once. The 2026 midterm elections are 32 weeks away. So that's kind of the update on the Clarity Act. And so it's very true. We absolutely have to get the Clarity Act signed if we care to have any kind of success with crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, XLM, HBAR. All of these assets are going to be included in that bill, in that Clarity Act. And so they're fighting over stablecoin yields. They're fighting over which banks deserve and which crypto exchanges like Coinbase. That's why Brian Armstrong is very interested in the subject. He wants to be able to earn a stablecoin yield, as do many of these banks and companies. So that's kind of where we're at. We're waiting for the Crypto Act to be the Clarity Act to be signed into law, because that is kind of the more important milestone so that crypto can become regulated across the board, right? XRP, Bitcoin, all of these things, they require regularity. They require regulation, they require legislation and laws. Without that, nothing really happens, and you continue getting World Liberty Fire, right? Trump meme coin. So if you don't have a market that has some kind of organization, some structure to it, regulation, oversight, these things are going to be extremely hard to really make work for the entire United States economy. And the reason this is also so important is because obviously we need to pay off our $38 trillion debt as a country. If we don't do that, we're pretty much going to be screwed. So crypto is going to be a big way we're going to do that. That's part of Trump's crypto plan. Wants to make America the crypto capital of the world. And David Sachs has been a part of that. Brad Garlinghouse has been a big part of that. Charles Hoskinson, of course, has been a huge part of that. He's been, I would say, one of the main trailblazers to this. And so all of these people are moving really hard. You have Michael Saylor from MicroStrategies. Like him or hate him, everybody's got different opinions on Michael Saylor, but I think he's innovative. I think he's a genius. I think he's been at the forefront of a lot of big technology, including Apple. And some people say, well, he's lost billions of dollars. Well, this and that. It's like, listen, it's called a pioneer. These people are the leaders of the industry, and that goes the same for Charles Hoskinson, Brad Garlinghouse. These are the leaders of the new financial future, the way that I see it. Even the Matt Kaisers, as annoying as he is, those are the leaders of the future. And so without the crypto regulations in place, then the Clarity Act pretty much has no chance of landing, right? So we have to hope, and you have to write to your senators. Really, you have to get in contact with your senators. You got to get in contact with your Congress. You got to let them know, like, hey, crypto's the future, and if you're not on board, you're going to miss out. So I also wanted to look at the gold prices and what was new with that. And yeah, gold's taken a huge hit. I mean, gold was over like 5,200 just last week when we were looking at the markets, and now we're down $236. We're down 4.8%. So gold's been taking a hit. Silver's at $70.36. Platinum's at $1,952.70 an ounce, and $1,465.30 for palladium. And again, gold is sitting today at $4,603.40. So not looking hot for gold today. But a lot of this has to do with the entire war, right? Every market is going to be impacted in a different way by these different wars that we're fighting. Okay, so when we look at the crude oil futures today and what's new with the markets in the energy stocks and the energy sectors, energy futures, whatever you want to call that, this is kind of where we're at. So crude oils is at $96.51. Brent last day financial futures are back over $100, guys, $110. So we're back over $110. So we're at $112.62 for the Brent last day financial futures, and the New York Harbor ULSD futures are at $4.19. Then again, we also have the E-mini crude oil futures at 97 cents or $97. So crude oil futures at $96 though, and the Brent last day financial futures at $112. Okay, so when we look at all the other markets, metals are down, interest rates. Interest rates are pretty much the same, unchanged. FX, which is basically Forex. For it, the Japanese yen futures looking like that's going up. British pound looks like it went up a little bit today, and everything else is pretty much stagnant. Micro futures down. Yeah. So, what do you guys think about all the different markets? Agriculture sector is up today. Corn futures are at 469. For soybean oil futures are at $65.55. Chicago SRW wheat futures are at 609, and the soybean meal futures are at 332. So big things happening in these markets, big things really going on today. So what do you guys think about everything that's happening? I think it's going to be big. As a real estate agent, I like to cover the real estate markets a little bit. I like to give you guys a little bit of an insight on what's going on. In February 2026, home prices in Michigan were up 3.4% compared to last year, selling for a median price of $259,800. On average, the number of homes sold was down 9.1% year over year, and there was 6,453 homes sold in February of this year, down 7,101 homes sold February of last year. The median days on the market was 51 days, up 5 over the year. So again, the median sale price today in Michigan is $259,800. And then if we're looking at the entire market itself, we'll look into that too. So I actually wanted to have that pulled up. So U.S. real estate market. Look that up. So how's your guys' day going, by the way? How was your guys' St. Patrick's Day? Celebrated that. Got to celebrate the Irish heritage, right? So real estate trends report, we'll take a look at that real quick while we're kind of bouncing around here. And then we're going to look at some stories on X real quick, and then we'll call it a day. What 11,200 buyers and sellers want from real estate. Yeah, this kind of tells you basically what's going on. So this is the article I actually did want to find. How do buyers prefer to communicate? Start stretching out those fingers. So yeah, so text message, but a lot of people like written communication. That's crazy. Wow. Look at that. So I found that phone calls, I'm not such a fan of those. A lot of people aren't really a fan of those that I work with in real estate. A lot of people are definitely a fan of text messaging. Text messaging seems to be the quickest way to communicate with my clients, at least in real estate, the people I've worked with. And then email is fine too, but it's just a little bit slower. But I definitely think overall written communication is pretty hot today, not just for real estate, for communication, whether you're looking to find a real estate agent, whether you're looking to find a client as a real estate agent. That's kind of where that's at. So if you are looking to find a client for real estate, though, listen, you got to become a real estate agent before you can get clients in real estate, right? So if you want to get real estate, you want to buy real estate, invest in it, you want to sell real estate, then work with me, Brendan Ecker. I am a real estate agent in Michigan, so I work with people all the time in real estate and helping them find their first home, second home, or their forever home, right? That's the idea, is to help you build your American dream. And then I also built an online course, PassREUSA.com. We built 1,300 practice questions specifically for future realtors. It's a pretty powerful course. Really, again, it's relevant for all 50 states. 1,300 practice questions that are specifically taken directly from the textbooks that you get in your real estate course, right? It's all prepared. I sourced a lot of the questions directly from the textbooks, directly from the federal textbooks that are used. So it's a lot of good resources, 200 plus vocab terms and key study acronyms. The entire course itself is run like a 40-hour course, the 40-hour course that you're going to have to take before you take your state exam. And so this online course is really designed to help you succeed. 5-star reviews we've been getting. I was trying to stay hot on that, trying to stay on top of it. But you have a good course here. 20 free questions if you want to check it out and see what it's like. Introduction gives you course vocabulary and terminology. Again, 200 plus vocab terms with acronyms, definitions. This is all for future real estate agents. You want to make more money in one of the worst economies that ever existed, if not the worst economy, then this is how you do it. You got to become a real estate agent, especially if you're social. If you're a social person, if you're really extroverted, you're going to really love real estate, because the more connections you have, the more money you'll make. You want to think of it that way. See, I don't really do as well as I could in real estate because I'm kind of introverted. I'm kind of introspective. I'm always building different things, so I don't have a lot of time as much as I'd like to work on real estate. But, I built this course specifically for people who think that they might be, right? If you're ready for real estate, let me help you out. Let me help you build your business in real estate. And then if you want to build your business in digital marketing, I can also help you with that. Help you with your business and getting more leads, really following up with those leads. So I work with contractors. If you are an HVAC, if you are a real estate agent, if you're a plumber, if you're any of these things, then you should work with me, goldsharkmedia.com or Goldshark Media AI. Some of the things that we do really circulate around what your specific needs are as a business, obviously. So whether it's social media content creation, we can definitely help with that. Obviously, we specialize in CRMs, customer relationship management. That's kind of where we specialize in. If you really get an idea of what we do, this is what we focus on. We really focus on giving you like an entire CRM. Again, you work with us, you can use our own, or we set that up for you. We optimize it for you. It can be through Go High Level. It can be through HubSpot. We help you build, or we can help you build your own CRM directly through an app. That's kind of where I'm skilled. I'm good at building apps, and I'm kind of a nerd like that. So yeah, you want to do that. You want to grow your business. You want to get more leads generated. You want to stop missing phone calls, perhaps. Really just, again, following up with leads is what we specialize in. So, not just getting you the leads, but actually following up. That's kind of why we price what we do, is because we offer WhatsApp plus iMessage deep integration. You're going to get a branded client portal and a team portal. You're going to get advanced marketing automations with email, SMS, ring to listen. You're going to need all of these things. I mean, you again, having an automated text message via SMS is definitely not going to hurt you as a business owner, right? Multi-location plus multi-user, unlimited contacts, and unlimited lead capacity in our CRM at least. And again, this isn't like the fixed price. This is just if you wanted to use our CRM. If you wanted to work with me, or if you want to talk more about your specific situation and kind of what's going on right now for you, then just book a strategy call. Doesn't have to be an hour. It can be 15 minutes. It can be 5 minutes. But really, I'm just trying to figure out what your business is all about, what you're doing, whether you're an HVAC, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a landscaper, whether you're a roofer. We work with all of those kinds of contractors specifically, right? So we focus on really getting you leads. I'm focused on high value information, right? We're going to get you where you need to go. And that's the idea. Okay. Cash flow, passive income. And then again, if you really wanted to support the show, you wanted to support the movement of Gold Shark Media, then we also have a merch store there as well. We kind of have fun with that. That's just for kicks and giggles, right? So free shipping. Order your embroidered Gold Shark Media merch today. We have mugs, t-shirts, all in style. The coolest stuff around in 2026. This is what everybody's wearing. This is what everybody's dragging around. This is what everybody's doing today. They're buying their GSM snapback. They're buying their t-shirt. They're buying their Under Armour. They're buying their windbreaker. Do it all. goldsharkmedia.com. And you'll be able to find our merch. You'll be able to find our marketing services and everything we do there for you. So that's kind of where I'm skilled. Need help building all of those systems. That's kind of what I focus on. AI, artificial intelligence, building you apps, handling that side of the business side of things that you don't want to do, right? Nobody wants to spend all day scheduling out content. Nobody wants to spend all day doing all this crap, right? Let's just be honest. Marketing is not fun, especially when you're not making money, right? So help me help you and work with me. At the end of the day, that's kind of the market update. That's everything that's going on. I guess I did say we're going to go on X here, so we'll check out some of the breaking news on X for about 5 more minutes here. We'll see what's going on in the news real quick. Any trending stories that are new, anything that's going on. I think that the Clarity Act is going to pass. I think that we are going to see some big developments with crypto. I think we're going to see a lot of big things happening, right? I think there's really no doubt about that at this point. So, that's a big story. The moment Israel targeted British journalist Steve Sweeney in southern Lebanon, that happened just 3 hours ago, a little under 3 hours ago. That's crazy.
Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and a minute.
That is insane. Wow. Tell me that wasn't intentional, right? Insane. Crazy. Got a message from Andrew Tate 3 hours ago from the Tate.
As the oil price, we're about to pay the ultimate price for all that diversity we were begging for, that diversity we were so lucky to achieve. as the oil price spikes, as the fuel runs out, as the food price, because we can't transport the food easily, skyrockets, as people can't pay their bills, as crime gets more and more rampant, as more and more pressure is going to be put on society, the cracks, which were pre-existing, like a submarine, when you put pressure on a submarine, any pre-existing cracks are going to be the stress points. That's going to be the breaking point. So the fact that our societies are no longer homogenous, everyone fucking hates each other. Men hate women.
True.
Republicans hate Democrats. Conservatives hate liberals. Black hates whites. Everyone hates the fucking Indians.
Totally. Yeah, we got to unite. Everybody has to unite. This is a time where humanity has to remember that this is an evolutionary period. You know, we can do a lot of great things.
We all live together, and it's about to be a fucking shit show, a free-for-all. That diversity is going to really pay off when times get bad. And when I say pay off, I mean pay off for the global elites. Because what they want is mass panic, mass crime. They want everyone killing each other so they can come along with the solution. And guess what the solution is? Solution is a microchip in your arm, a dildo up your ass, your freedom removed, and an AI machine that controls absolutely everything you do. CBDCs, 15-minute cities.
It's true, though. That's what they're trying to create out of society.
All of it's coming. Because 20%...
Just like your complete, just total entropy.
...of the world's
degradation
gas
of
is
society.
Currently on fire. 20% of the world's gas is currently on fire. This might just be it for the people who say nothing ever happens. So nothing ever happens, bros. Something's going to fucking happen. Double the price of food. You're going to see Western countries. You're going to see riots like you've never seen. Fuck Black Lives Matter. No lives are going to fucking matter. Food's going to matter, and everyone's going to fucking suffer.
Yeah.
In hard times, homogenous societies, they can band together, you know? Don't hurt someone who thinks just like you. You're not going to hurt someone who looks like you. You're not going to hurt someone who went to the same school as you, watch the same TV shows. Homogenous societies are resistant to outwards pressure. They don't have the cracks, but our societies in the West are no longer homogenous, are they? Nobody fucking likes each other.
Well, a big part of that is because America is the greatest empire, right? We've expanded to be the largest empire. So when you have the largest empire, you have everybody from all walks of life coming in. And over time, over these kind of empires, of course, you give power, you hand power, you install power. Over time, these things easily can happen, right? You lose the attention of the masses stop paying attention to what's going on. Everybody falls asleep, right? Eyes wide shut. And next thing you know, you're in a war with Iran.
In fact, everybody already hates each other. The only reason we tolerate each other is so that we can make money and get rich. Well, it turns out you can't make money faster than they can fucking inflate the currency or set all the world's fuel on fire.
Right.
So it looks like this is the beginning of the end.
I would have to agree. But it's all about how we decide to go forward, of course. It's all about how we decide to make a difference in society, how to make an impact, all of these things. So we all have a decision to make. We can be whoever we want to be, but this is the Twitter algorithm. These are some of the stories that are popping up for me. Of course, a lot of civil war activity. We have a lot of race baiting. We have a lot of rage baiting. We have all of it. We have a lot of it. Heartbreaking. This is what we thought MAGA was going to end. We believed Trump would end it because he told us he would. This is Trump's new MAGA, and I want nothing to do with it. Pray for our troops because Trump is sacrificing them for Israel.
Yesterday, and it was so heartbreaking.
This comes from former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, God bless our troops. If you are going out there to Iran, I recommend you don't go. You should just not go. You don't need to go and fight for a foreign land, which is Israel. You don't need to go and do that. So that's my advice there. Joe Kent was telling the truth. Yeah, that was big news that developed, but nothing that really shifted the markets here. A lot of shifts here that I want to focus on. We will watch this because Alex Barnicoat covers a lot of the tactical geopolitical movements that are happening in the Strait of Hormuz. And all of these things do, in fact, impact the market. So he covers a lot of these big attacks and things that are going on. Whether it's Israel, Iran, he covers it pretty well.
Some breaking news, Israel has launched a ground invasion into Lebanon and hundreds of Israeli soldiers are flowing across the border. And for the first time, it seems like Israel is actually trying to seize Lebanon's territory.
So this is crazy. We're hearing about Iran, and here you also are hearing about Lebanon. You're also hearing about how, you're hearing Israel say that they want to take Turkey. You're hearing all of these different things, and then we have a war with Iran that we have to fight as Americans. So we have a multi-front war, a multi-domain war. And that's ultimately what's going on.
Make it their own. Israel just said, quote, "In recent hours, Israeli troops have begun a limited and targeted ground operation against key Hezbollah strongholds in southern Lebanon." But as well as that, overnight, Israel carried out dozens of airstrikes against southern Lebanon, seemingly as a way to...
Yeah, and don't forget, they've been dropping white phosphorus in the skies over Lebanon, which is basically sulfuric acid.
Clear a path for these Israeli troops. But something that makes this even more crazy is not only that Israel has launched an invasion into Lebanon from northern Israel, but the Israeli troops have also flown into eastern Lebanon from Syria. They've literally crossed the Syrian border and started to invade there too. If you don't know, in the last few months, Israeli troops started flowing into southern Syria, and we now know why. It seems Israel has been preparing for this for quite a long time, and they're using the Iran war as a cover to do it. And overnight, Israel has launched what seems...
Again, you would think that that would probably impact the oil prices, right? So that's why I'm showing you these videos, because we're seeing at the ground level really what is impacting the oil prices. A lot of these influencers, they don't really want to get into the geopolitical maps. They don't want to get into the actual hits, the attacks, the strikes. And I like to cover all of that because that's the meat and potatoes. That's the real bread and butter of the entire war. That's the entire market. That's what creates the market. War is the economy, right? Remember the movie War Dogs? War is the economy. It costs about $25,000 back then, at least, to arm and uniform one U.S. soldier. So everything in war is money. Money, it creates the market, right? And so you get this with oil.
Seems to be an operation they've been planning for months to invade southern Lebanon and possibly seize some of the territory for their own. Israel has said they're trying to, quote, "get control of a forward defense area." In other words, a buffer zone. However, in reality, it's just going to be taking Lebanon's territory. Over 800,000 people in Lebanon have been displaced in just the last 3 weeks. And now that this is happening, it seems it's going to be even more. And so, Israel has officially launched a ground invasion into Lebanon, and they've opened another front of the war. And this is something you wouldn't have even heard about because of the war in Iran. But I'm covering it, and so you can leave me a follow because
follow Alex Barnacote, good account, Alex Barnacote, good stuff. So I'm not seeing any big crypto news in the markets. I'm not seeing anything new per se. So we will go to the bookmarks real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. I know I said I was going to wrap this up earlier, but I like to cover as much as I can within one episode in terms of any kind of information that's really going to impact the markets, right? This probably impacted the market. This was Pete Hegseth confirming that the Pentagon is seeking about 200 billion. Oh my God. Yeah, that's $200 billion for the war with Iran. It takes money to kill bad guys, but not the state of Israel, of which is forcing us into this war and driving our hand, right?
$200 billion. I think that number could move, obviously. It takes...
What an ass. What an ass. $200 billion. And then they like to say, oh, well, we're giving the U.S. troops $1,200 a year. It's like, what? It's like, what? And a bonus? $1,200 a year, and then we're paying $200 billion a year for this war that we're going to lose miserably. This makes absolutely no sense. This guy is an idiot. And I say this as a Republican, a conservative. This guy is a fool. He has no business wearing that suit. He has no business representing this country. He is incompetent for the role, and he is going to get America nuked.
It takes money to kill bad guys. So we're going back to Congress and our folks there.
I hate this so much.
Properly funded for what's been done. For what we may have to do in the future, ensure that our ammunition is, everything's refilled, and not just refilled, but above and beyond. I mean, President Trump, as he said, rebuilt the military in his first term. Didn't think he'd use it as dynamically in his second, but he had. So thank goodness he did that. And an investment like this is meant to say, hey, we'll replace anything that was spent. And now that we're reviving our defense industry.
Yeah, in translation, the American taxpayers will replace what's spent. It's okay. We have a blank check. The American taxpayer will pay for it. Don't worry about it.
Base and rebuilding the arsenal of freedom and cutting deals.
Look at how excited he is about it. He's so happy that you're going to spend every single cent of your paycheck working 5 jobs paying for an Iranian war on behalf of Israel.
Like our great deputy secretaries here is doing. Long lead times on exquisite munitions. We're going to be refilled faster than anyone imagined. And I think, we're also still dealing with the environment that Joe Biden created, which was
blaming the past administration.
Depleting those stockholds, and not sending them to our own military, but to Ukraine, which is every time we reach back and look at any sort of a challenge we have.
Who else has been enjoying the Saturday Night Live impressions of Pete Hegseth? I've been finding them extremely entertaining.
It goes back to, well, send it to Ukraine. Ultimately, we think this should be these munitions are better spent in our own interests at this point, and this kind of funding bill is going to ensure that we're properly funded going forward.
So the American taxpayers will now be paying $200 billion to continue the war with Iran. How do you feel about that, America? Does it feel good? Must feel great. Germany announced its withdrawal of its defense of Israel in the genocide case at the International Court of Justice.
Deutschland hatte angekündigt mit einer
I don't speak German, so I will avoid that. Israel, yeah, we already covered that video. Here's some big crypto news. Back to the more. So here's more of the crypto markets and more on this. So let's take a look at this video.
What do you have to
start this over?
More kind of quick question here is, just moving forward for those people who still doubt that our financial markets are moving on chain. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I think
yeah, they definitely are.
It's happening now, and you can see it in the growing. I feel growing excitement in the marketplace, and the new thing on to us. So, even in traditional finance, we've already approved money market mutual funds to be tokenized. Bank deposits are coming next very quickly, and so whatever.
And again, I think XRP is going to end up replacing the SWIFT banking system. I think Bitcoin will run on the RLUSD or Solana. And essentially, these networks, these blockchains will work in unison with one another. X Money is about to be coming out very soon, and X Money is going to be using XLM and HBAR, or in other words, Hedera Hashgraph, to run a lot of the interoperability of the app. Lots of different cryptocurrencies are going to be used to develop the future. So this is the financial infrastructure. As an entrepreneur, as a real estate agent, I'm telling you right now, invest in everything. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And this is not financial advice, but, invest in the future is all I can say. Invest in what you are comfortable with losing, of course. Don't invest what you're not willing to lose. And then when you have that figured out, when you've done the research, go all in is kind of how I feel. And of course, while remaining diversified.
Obviously, then you have stable coins and the other cryptocurrencies, but it's here, and even with the traditional securities markets, tokenize them at DTCC and elsewhere. So
this is great news.
I'm really excited about the future. I think it's great. The efficiencies and the innovation will be really great.
I really just see these kind of videos pretty much every day from the institutions, right? You go on Twitter X, you see a lot of FUD. You go on anything else, you see FUD. You talk to your family or your friends, they say, oh, crypto's FUD. Oh, it's not worth it. And I say that's definitely not true. Definitely not true at all. So this is the market, and this was everything we saw today. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys. What do you guys think about the markets? What do you guys think about all of the new developments in the news, all of the new things happening, all of the things that are changing, the Iran war, the $200 plus oil prices that I think we're about to see? I think that we are going to see Bitcoin hit $200,000. I think it'll be before the end of 2026. And then I also think we will see XRP. I think we'll see XRP hit anywhere from like $5 to $100 for sure. I think it can easily hit over $100. It kind of really just depends on how fast these institutions and banks really want to use it, because there is use case, and that's already been proven. They're using it all over the world. So many other countries, right, are using XRP, specifically Japan. And again, I'm not a maxi for any kind of currency. I try to focus objectively on the facts, which cryptocurrencies are going to, and blockchains and technologies are going to actually remain in the future because they have real use case, because they have utility, fast transaction speeds, low transaction costs. All of these things matter. And Bitcoin's expensive, it's slow, it's very outdated, and it's something to think about. Although there is a lot of innovation happening with Bitcoin on the upsides of that too. Bitcoin, has ETFs. They're making, their deals with Coinbase and all of that. That's great. And so DeFi is doing great because of Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin will have a place in the U.S. stockpile reserve as well. So any money that's taken from, for example, we take money from the cartel, or we take money from, things like the Maduro raid. Well, it makes it very easy to put that money into the Bitcoin stockpile or reserve. So that is what's really going to help the United States become the crypto capital of the world. And so I hope to see it. And what do you guys think is going to happen with crypto? I think the Clarity Act will pass. I think it's going to be after the Save America Act passes first, obviously, because the Senate's going to need to hear that case on the floor first. But after that, you're going to probably see the Clarity Act get pushed through right away. Again, they wanted to sign the Save America Act first because you want to be able to identify voter systems, or you want to have a more legitimate voter system in America. And also, the reason that matters is because, look at what you're seeing in Minnesota. Nick Shirley just yesterday, and I'm actually going to be doing a reaction video to it tonight. Speaking of, Nick Shirley just released an entire expose, $8 billion, or I think it was $1 billion of fraud that he found in Los Angeles. So I'm going to be reacting to that video tonight, actually, 7 p.m. Eastern. Check it out on Ecker Geopolitics. But yeah, so these things are happening, and it's like that happens in these kind of people, these frauds. Not Nick Shirley. I'm talking about the people he exposed in Minnesota. These people, imagine if they were to defraud the cryptocurrency system. That's kind of where I'm getting at here. Imagine if these Somali fraudsters, or whoever it is, black, white, whatever, it's not about race, we're focusing on money. You think about how these people defrauded the system with the USD and the cash system. What do you think they would do with crypto, and how they're already doing it now, right? You see World Liberty Fi and Trump meme coin, and then they just they pull the rug. Trump makes like what was it? I honestly can't remember the exact figure, so I won't say, but I thought it was in the billions of dollars he made overnight from that trade. That's arguably insider trading. We don't know, but, obviously our common sense would have to deduct. The point is, you need to play like the elites. You can't bitch. You can't complain. You can't just wish for everybody to come and save you. You need to build your own system, whether it's your own channel, whether it's your own banking system, whether it's your own tribe, right? You need to build something of your own, whether it's even a website, whether it's your own business of some sort. Definitely a huge believer in that. I'll help you do that if you need help. Work with me, goldsharkmedia.com, passreusa.com. Work with me. You need to grow in real estate, call me up. Send me an email, shoot me a DM, and I'll work with you. We'll talk about your financial situation and where you're at. So with that being said, I'm done rambling. That's the episode for today.